Adam and Eve went on living for a long time after losing their first two children, for people lived many hundreds of years when the world was new. Their hearts were sad because their sons had left them in such a tragic way, but they did not give in to sorrow. In time they had many more children, the first of whom was a boy very much like Abel. They called him Seth. When Seth grew to manhood, he himself married and established a branch of the family that went down through the centuries to produce a man who was to save the world from the judgment of the Lord. When at last Adam and Eve died, 800 years after the birth of Seth, their family had grown into a vast tribe of people. The earth on which they had lived and toiled was no longer a lonely wilderness, but a productive land teeming with their children, their children's children, and great-great-great-grandchildren, who themselves were grown and had children of their own. It should have been a good and wonderful world. But it seemed that the more people there were, the more wickedness there was upon the earth. Among them all, there were only a few who found favor in the eyes of the Lord because of their love for what was good and right. These few were descended from Seth. One of them was Enoch, who walked and talked with Yahweh as Adam had done in the days of Eden. Another was Enoch's son, Methuselah, a man who lived longer than any other man in the world, and who produced a great many sons and daughters in the course of his 969 years on earth. Among his several sons was Lamech, who had a son of his own who proved to be among the most outstanding of the descendants of Seth. That son's name was Noah. Men multiplied on the face of the earth, working and playing and having families, and forgetting all about their Lord. Yahweh looked down and saw a few men like Noah working hard in their fields and dealing honestly with their fellow men. And he saw many men, such as the descendants of Cain, becoming wealthy in their cities and worshiping the things that they had made with their own hands. Scarcely any man or woman gave thought to the Lord who had created them. People seemed to have forgotten how to be good to one another, much less love their Lord. They had become so thoughtless that they no longer knew what was right, nor did they seem to care. Something had to be done. The Lord gave warning. My spirit shall not strive forever with the people of the earth. The days of man shall be no more than 120 years if his wickedness does not pass. But it was as if they did not hear him. The people did not heed the warning of the Lord. Instead of changing for the better, they became even worse. And Yahweh saw that the world was full of evil and wrongdoing. Not only were man's deeds wicked, but his thoughts were evil, and there was evil in his heart continually. The Lord was grieved at what he saw, and regretted that he had ever placed man upon the earth. In sorrow, he said, I will destroy man, whom I have created, from the face of the earth. Not only man, but all the beasts and creeping things, and the fowls of the air, for I repent that I have made them. But even in those bad days, there was one man who found grace in the eyes of the Lord, and that was Noah. Like his grandfather Enoch and his first ancestor Adam, Noah was a just man who walked and talked with Yahweh. In the midst of all the world's wickedness, he alone was truly righteous, and he alone tried to keep his family in the ways of Yahweh. He had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and there was good in them as well. Yahweh spoke to Noah. The time has come to make an end of all this violence and evil, he said. I will destroy all living things, and the whole earth with them. But you, Noah, must build an ark of gopher wood. You will make rooms in it, and line it with pitch inside and out, so that no water can enter in. The ark shall have 3 levels, a lower, a second, and a third, and it shall be 45 feet high. The length of it should be 450 feet, and it must be 75 feet wide. Noah listened with growing wonder as Yahweh spoke to him. He had never built a boat, for he lived far from the coast and had never needed one. Certainly he had never imagined building a boat of such great size. But Yahweh was telling him how it should be done. It was to be very strongly built, with a sturdy wooden frame and a sound, stout roof to keep the water off the decks, and there would also be a window and a single wide door set into the side. When it was finished, it would look like a great houseboat. But what was it for? The answer was soon coming. "There will be a flood of waters upon the earth," said the Lord, "and everything under heaven shall die. But to you, Noah, I make a promise. When you have finished building, you will go into the ark, you and your wife and your 3 sons and their families. For I have seen that you are a righteous man, and I will save you. And every living creature, excepting only man, you shall bring 2 of every sort into the ark, to keep them alive with you. Each pair shall be male and female. Of every fowl of the air and every beast that is greatly needed by man, such as sheep and cattle, you shall take in 7s of pairs, so that all such shall be reborn upon the earth in good quantities, when the flood has passed away. And you shall gather every kind of food, and place it on board for yourselves, and all the animals and birds and creeping things that will be with you in the ark." It was a strange thing for Noah to have to do, but he did as he was commanded, because he believed in Yahweh. It was a long task to build the ark, to round up all the animals, to gather and store the food, and it was made no easier by his mocking neighbors. He warned them of the oncoming flood and begged them to repent and save themselves. But they laughed at him and his enormous boat, so far from the sea, and would not believe that they were in any danger from Yahweh. They could not believe because they did not believe in Yahweh, and they could not imagine a flood so bad that it would destroy everything they had, including their own lives. Therefore they kept on laughing, and they kept on with their evil ways. But Noah went on building, while his sons collected animals and food. The time came when Yahweh told him he should load the ship. "In 7 days, said the Lord, I will cause it to start raining upon the earth, and it will rain for 40 days and 40 nights. Take the beasts 2 by 2 into the ark, and your family also. Whatever living thing is not upon the ark will be washed away from the face of the earth." Noah went into the ark with his sons and his wife, and the wives of his sons. 2 of every bird and beast and every creeping thing, the male and the female, followed the human family into the ark. Then Noah closed the door and waited. He did not have long to wait. It came to pass after 7 days from Yahweh's final warning that the waters of the flood were upon the earth. It was in the 600th year of Noah's life, on the 17th day of the 2nd month, that the fountains of the great deep were broken up and the windows of heaven were opened. Water poured down from the sky. People ran from the drowning lands into their homes to keep dry, and when that did not help them, they climbed the hills and mountains to escape. There was no escape. The rivers swelled and rose until they broke their banks and washed across the lands. Great pools of water joined together into even greater pools, and the water level slowly rose. The ark rose steadily with the rising waters, and the rain lashed down upon its pitch-lined roof. Inside, the good man Noah and his family were safe and dry, and with them were the many pairs of animals of every kind. They alone floated above the flood, and although they were cut off completely from the land, they had with them enough food to last for many months if it were needed. For 40 days and 40 nights it rained. Outside the ark, small streams grew into rushing rivers, the rivers into walls of water that turned the land into a vast lake dotted with small islands, which had once been high land. Rainwater joined with the sea to wash away the coastline and the valleys, and the hills shrank down beneath the growing seas. Higher and higher rose the waters, until all the high hills under the whole heaven, and even the tall mountains, were covered. There was no longer anywhere to run for safety. Every man and all the cattle, all the birds of the air and every creeping thing, all were washed away by the flood, until there was nothing left in the world but a great sheet of water and one wooden boat bobbing on the face of the deep. And then the rain stopped. At the end of 40 days and nights, Yahweh remembered Noah and every living thing that was with him in the ark. And Yahweh made a wind to pass over the earth, so that the waters were quieted. He stopped the fountains of the deep and closed the windows of heaven, and he held the rain back from the sky. The great sea over the land began subsiding gradually. For 6 months and more, the ark went on, floating in the silent sea, the only life in all the world. Slowly, day after day, for 150 days, the waters drained away. On the 17th day of the 7th month after the rain, the ark came to rest upon the mountain of Ararat in Mesopotamia. And on the 1st day of the 10th month, the tops of distant mountains could be seen from the ark. At the end of 40 days of receding waters, Noah sent out a raven from the window of the ark and watched it fly back and forth across the lonely sky. It was the only living thing outside the ark, and though it scouted for dry land, it found none. Noah also sent a dove, knowing that the dove would light on land if any land there was. But the dove came back, and Noah reached out his hand and took her into the ark. 7 days later he sent the dove out once again. This time she came back to him in the evening with a fresh young olive leaf in her mouth. Now Noah knew that the waters had drained away from the earth enough to permit life on the land, and that somewhere living trees had raised their heads above the immense lake. He waited yet another 7 days, and then sent the dove out once again. She did not return at all. And so it was that on the 1st day of the 1st month of Noah's 601st year of life, the waters were dried up from the earth. Noah removed the covering of the ark and looked out upon a strange yet promising world. He was no longer in his own country, but the face of the ground was dry. Yahweh spoke to him again, saying, "Go out of the ark and take with you your wife, your sons, and your sons' wives, and all the fowl and cattle and the creeping things, and put them back upon the land, so they may breed and be fruitful and multiply upon the earth." Then Noah opened the great door of the ark, through which his strange crew had trooped more than a year before, and each and every pair followed Noah and his family onto the wonderful dry land. At last the world was alive again. As soon as all were on dry land, Noah built an altar of thanksgiving to the Lord to show his gratitude for having been saved. Upon the rough stones he made burnt offerings to Yahweh who loved him, and gave thanks for the new hope in the world. The Lord smelled the sweet savor of Noah's offerings, and was pleased with what was good in the man's heart. And he vowed in his own heart that he would never again curse the ground to punish man or destroy all life on earth. While the earth remains, he promised, seed time and harvest, and cold and heat, and summer and winter, the day and night shall not cease to be. Yahweh then blessed Noah and his sons, and said to them, "The earth is yours, be fruitful, have many children, and replenish it." He gave to them the earth and every living thing upon it. Then he caused a great ark of lovely colors to vault the sky. "This is a token of the vow between us," he declared. "I make my promise to you and all the living creatures you have brought with you, and to your offspring for all time. I do set my rainbow in the sky as a reminder of my covenant with every living thing on earth. When you see it, you will remember what I say to you, and know that I remember. And this is my everlasting vow. The waters shall no more become a flood to wash all living things away. Never again will there be a flood to destroy man from the earth."